Welcome! Now let's talk about the humans part within our syllabus. Here we are talking about the talent management in our first section. And after talent management, of course, we will be grouping them into the organization. So that's why we will need to look at the organizational structure later on. So I would say that these two topics are so difficult, so make sure they're ready for that. Now, to start off, let's talk about the talent management. Now, nowadays, we are not simply focusing on the human resource management, although we still got the human resource department there, but we are talking about the talent. Now, the key difference between these two would be, with regards to human resource management, we simply employ our staff and then we use them to generate economic benefit. Now, if the staff is not performing a good job, alternatively, the staff demanding more salary, we would think about ways to replace him with another one. We would be thinking about to sack him. So that's what traditional human resource management is actually doing. I'm not saying this is a particularly bad thing because it really happens in our daily life, but if you are a leader, you will need to think about the future. So this is why we emphasize on treating our staff as talent. So for example, even though the staff currently is not doing a good job, but we recognize that he or she has future potential of being a leader. So if that's the case, then we will need to come up with certain ideas to treat them well so it can further position themselves into the right parts of our business later on to fit into our future strategy. We are not talking about we need you, so we employ you, we look for you, we employ you. It is not this logic any longer. However, with regards to talent management, the logic would be, I would use my existing network to find you. After I found you, I believe that you are the right guy, so I'm coming up with lots of ways to retain you, to motivate you, so both you and I could be more successful. So that's the basic logic behind talent management. Now, with regards to talent management, firstly, we'll be looking at what do I mean by talent before we dip into how to manage them properly with the pros and cons, which means we'll be dealing with how to manage and the pros and cons of the talent management in your exam. Now, with regards to talent, normally we are talking about those people with high potential, which means probably they can be the future leaders in the industry, alternatively with high performance, which means that in their function, so for example, if you are in the finance function, okay, you're the finance director, you're the qualified ACCA member, I think that you have got very top functional roles. Alternatively, perhaps you're the marketing manager and you're very good at the marketing skill. And because of you, companies made lots of revenue this year. So which means that you've got high performance. I mean, for these two characteristics, I would say that these would be talent. Now, according to my knowledge, approximately in most businesses, 3 to 10% of the staff would be recognized as talent. Not all of them. However, from talent management's point of view, if you're talking about the talent, we'll always consider two policies. Are you going to be using the exclusive policy, which means that you will be setting up the talent management program not only with additional financial rewards, but also with the non-financial reward. Alternatively, you may be using the inclusive policy. Now, inclusive policy we are simply talking about that we would allow all of the staff to join the talent management program, which means that the talent management program, if I recognize them in this pool, the talent pool, should be with clear path in terms of their career, and perhaps it's to everybody if we are using the inclusive policy. I'm not saying that we will be paying exactly the same to all of them. However, step one, they come into a talent pool and we'll need to observe some of them really has high potential, becoming the future leader, or perhaps having the high performance, which means performing quite well in their functions, in their department. And then the step two, step three, giving them more freedom to initiate the project and to lead the team and to see and to test what they're going on before we further promote them in the right time. So this is how the talent management actually works. Now, of course, in most businesses, they would have the combination of a exclusive and inclusive policy. As a starting point, to be fair, they may be having an inclusive policy that allowing everybody to join this talent management program. And then, of course, we need to select that, of course, divide it into different levels. For example, for the talent management, getting into the top management level, okay, exclusively to only, for example, 5 roles and something like that. So for different levels, we've got different roles, and this is what I mean by the inclusive as well as the exclusive policy. And that's all about the talent. However, from the exam's point of view, we are more interested in how to manage these talent. Okay, now let's talk about the management part in much more detail. Now, when talking about the talent management, I would like to use my own mnemonic. It's called SAME. Because I believe that everybody's the same. Okay, so we use the mnemonic SAME as a letter, S-A-M-E. Now, of course, when you're talking about the talent management, you always need to remember, from my perspective, these 4 letters, and to make sure that you understand the stages of the talent management in much more detail. Now, firstly, we'll be selecting the guys to be in our talent management pool. So in talent management, the common ways that we can do would certainly be, firstly, through the employer branding. And this is particularly important. So for example, we can associate with the corporate social responsibility that our company is quite a good business. Okay, so you think about the big 4 accountancy firms, for example. And then through the internal referrals, I believe that if we have a very good staff member in our team, someone that he or she refers to may be good or very probably to be a more suitable guy than others, perhaps. But of course, we need to test them, of course. Now, the second stage, after we're selecting these guys into our talent pool, we'll need to develop them, which means to advance them to another level. So for example, through tailored training, not training on a superficial way. So for example, having a general training on software, how to use it in Excel, no. It's all about the tailored training. So for example, you can see that for some of the top management team members, there might be sponsored MBA program, okay, that they can get. Alternatively, we'll also use the mentorship program. Having the mentorship program in place, allowing the senior executive acting as the mentor to develop that staff from scratch. Alternatively, we'll need to look at the reward, and this is so important. Not just with the financial rewards, I believe that if you're implementing the talent management program in your business, and that will be very, very costly, and you will need to devote certain budget on that. So probably the staff expense over the revenue for general companies would be more than 10%, okay, sometimes be 20%, okay, so if you're implementing the talent management program. At the same time, you will also need to think about the non-financial rewards to them. Particularly, perhaps there might be the feedback from the board of directors directly. This works especially that if you're targeting all of the staff initially, for example, using the inclusive policy, they really value it. At the same time, you may be encouraging them to utilize the network event opportunities. And that's also very important there. The reason is, for example, if you're working in Big Four, some of your senior partners may be the president of ACCA. Okay? So utilizing these networks, don't just to avoid it and don't prohibit themselves of joining the professional body events, having the networking opportunities. So these will be the non-financial rewards. Okay? But that does not necessarily mean that we encourage our staff to have the part-time job opportunities. Of course, in order that that person can focus more on our internal job, okay, rather than having the part-time jobs to distract their attention. Okay, so but the network events very crucial. Make sure that we expose them to clients and to make sure that they can feel that we are doing good for them. Okay, so that would be our second stage, which means the advance or the advancement stage. The third stage, of course, is to match them. Match them, which means putting them into the right part of the business. Okay, so which means that put them in the right part of a company or the business organization. Of course, the final stage will certainly be that is related to employee succession planning. Now, succession planning, which means that we should be planning who should be the next. In this role. But it's not that straightforward indeed. Think about it in this case. We've got a talent pool with 5 employees. They are doing a good job during the year. And our CEO has retired. He's going to retire, and we need to think about who should be the next CEO of our company. So how are you going to be choosing one of them? Perhaps you'll be choosing A, staff A, or employee B. We're not sure, but I believe that someone that haven't been chosen will certainly be demotivated to a certain extent because they work so hard in our business, in our talent management program, and we test them by allowing them to lead the team to showcase their potential and to showcase their performance. But finally, they failed, or at least 4 out of 5 would fail to be the next CEO in this role. So how are you going to be doing about it? Well, from my perspective, I would say that perhaps being a CEO will be for 3 years, but after 3 years, of course, 4 out of 5 can still have opportunity to be the next CEO, perhaps. So rotation basis will be one of our options there. Alternatively, we can do this for others who will not be the future CEO. We can certainly allocate some of them to other parts of the business with similar roles, with, for example, higher pay. Not sure. So it's all about the succession planning. We are not talking about, okay, not being the CEO, you want to leave? Okay, you can leave now. We're not talking about this. Okay, so we are talking about always to focus on our strategy to see whether or not we've got enough people and with right skills in making sure that the business will fulfill the strategy. And that's important. So we are talking about the future, and this is what I mean by the talent management. We are not simply implementing the HR program, which means the human resource management program, by saying that, okay, so here's the recruitment, here's the selection, here's the induction, which means we give approximately half-day training to those staff, and then we test them, we evaluate their performance. If they are not okay, sack them, a new employee is coming in. And this would certainly be not in conflict with the talent management. Okay, so HRM, human resource management, would just be the standardized procedure. But when we are valuing our staff, especially whether or not they can meet with our future strategies, we will need to adopt more of a talent management philosophy in that. Now, in the exam, you are highly likely to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of each of the stage in turn, so make sure you're ready. Now, the first stage will be the selection stage, which means we invite them into the talent pool. Of course, the advantage for that will certainly be we can find suitable staff from the talent pool. However, the downside of that, perhaps there might be limited talent in the pool, particularly if you're using the exclusive policy rather than the inclusive policy. Now, how about the advanced stage? I would say that the advantage, if you're thinking about we provide tailored training to them, the common sense to you will certainly be we can equip staff with the right skills. I mean, it's not that difficult when you talk about the advantage from my perspective. However, the downside of that, okay, for the stage number 2, will certainly be if there's no board level approval, of course, talent management will not work at all. Think about it in this way. I sponsor one of our marketing managers to get an MBA degree, which means that he will have to leave our company for approximately 1.5 years and go to the UK and to study that MBA degree. Cost the company quite a lot. At the same time, during these 1.5 years, we'll need to assign his or her responsibility to another guy, which means that we will need to recruit a new one to replace that sales manager or the marketing manager on a temporary basis. That'll be costing a company a lot of money. Perhaps one of the board members may say that, why? Just stop doing that. Keeping that sales manager within a company because our company's performance is not particularly good so far. So using these time to really look after our key clients rather than going for the MBA degree. So this means that in this particular case, there's no point that the HR management, which means the human resource director, talking about this, okay, we should promote the talent management strategies without the board approval. So the board should approve the talent management, we need to do it. Okay, so it won't work if no board approval. How about the third stage? Okay, matching. Now, of course, the good side, we can maximize their potential because we're putting them into the right place. However, the downside of that, I think, would be this. For example, you're working in the finance department, and I'm seeing that, well, you've got very good future potential of being a future leader. And the human resource management may take you directly to another project team, so that it will upset your boss, upset your finance director, because your finance director is not blind. Your finance director says that, okay, you are a very gifted person that should stay in my department. But now the HR management team members take you out and to assign to another project team. So that it will be upsetting your head. So if that's the case, then of course, I would say that there will be conflict between departments. For example, it's the HR department and the other functional departments. If this is not planned well. Finally, succession planning. Now, the advantage, I can really think about that. So for example, it can help retain the staff within our business because there will be clear career path. However, the downside of that sometimes will be lacking transparency, making them feel that this is unfair. So which means that lacking transparency sometimes leading to resistance. So make sure that you're ready. I mean, if you can talk about the same, Mnemonic, select, advanced, match and employee succession planning, and each stage with the pro and con, I would say that you will gain very high marks when you're talking about the talent management because you know the basic idea. And that's it. Now, I'm going to be stopping my first recording now regarding the talent management. Of course, in the next section, we will be talking about grouping all the employees together within the organization, and we will talk about the organizational structure in more detail. I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.
APC, accounting for your future.